Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are globally. Welcome to the orientation for the 2017 Advanced Certificate in Executive Search and Leadership Consulting, which is brought to you by the Association of Executive Search and Leadership Consultants and Cornell University's ILR School. My name is Gwyneth Dobson. I'm a director with the Human Capital Development and Executive Education Group at Cornell ILR. And with me today is Karen Greenbaum, CEO of the Association of Executive Search and Leadership Consulting. We also have with us John Hausknecht. John is a professor of Human Resource Studies at Cornell's ILR School, and he's also a faculty member in the AESC program. And also with us is Brian Glade, Managing Director with AESC, and also a program alumni. So we're happy to have Brian with us as well. So in front of you is our agenda for the next 45 minutes or so. Just a couple of logistical items. This is an Adobe Connect session, and we find that closing other applications on your desktop is helpful in ensuring the quality of the session is not affected, so please do that. This session is also being recorded, and it will be emailed to those who have expressed an interest in learning more about the program. It will also be posted on the AESC website. And also, if you have any comments or questions for us throughout the program, you can type those in the participant chat field, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. And there will also be a Q&A session at the close of the program. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Karen Greenbaum.
Thank you, Gwen, and delighted to be here to talk about this important program. First, let me begin by talking about AESC's mission. We are the voice of excellence for the executive search and leadership consulting profession worldwide. That means that we really do care about quality, about standards, and about education. So this Cornell program fits in perfectly with our overall mission. The AESC seal represents quality and integrity, and it's important that clients understand that they understand that AESC is an exclusive global association and that only the highest quality firms are eligible and meet our requirements. So that's a little bit about AESC. Let's go on to the program. We have a strong track record with Cornell. This upcoming year is actually the 5th year that we've partnered with Cornell to provide the advanced program in executive search and leadership consulting. So 4 strong years behind us and the 5th year coming up. 2017 will also be our 2nd year of virtual delivery. You'll meet John Hausknecht in a little while. John actually has been with the program from the beginning and had experience both in the on-site classroom setting that was a week long and the new virtual program. And I talked to him a little bit before this session, and he said that he actually preferred the virtual delivery in terms of the quality of the students from around the world that were able to participate and the engagement. So you'll hear more about that. We do have a strong global cohort, and this new virtual delivery format allows us to get a very, very strong group, as evidenced by the class that we just had. So you'll see on the next slide that we had 34 senior consultants participating. They were located in 6 continents and in 15 countries. So truly a global group. The cohorts were from both large global firms as well as smaller regional firms. So a great mix geographically, a great mix from different kinds of organizations. And the feedback from our participants showed that they really appreciated the peer level across the cohort of students. 2016 was a huge success, and the feedback we received proved that. So 96% agreed or strongly agreed that the program was valuable. That's incredible. Great, great feedback. 96% thought the technology was easy to use and conducive to learning. So this new format really worked. 90% felt they were engaged with the right level of peers around the world. And in terms of the professors, and again, we've had these professors for a number of years, this time in a virtual format, 7 of the 9 professors, the most often received score that they received was excellent, the best you could get. So 7 of the 9 received an excellent most often. The other 2, very good. So we had great professors with great feedback, and that demonstrated the quality of the program. So what were some of the other comments that we got from the feedback we received? So you'll see on screen the actual comments. It was thought-provoking. I really enjoyed the peer discussions. It was incredibly helpful. It helped me understand the change in client needs. It was a valuable part of my development. A good balance of real-world experience and teaching capability. The faculty is amazing, so John, you'll appreciate that comment, and you were one of the higher-rated professors. And the capstone project and the feedback received on it was a good way to leverage the experience of the group. So again, great feedback. But we also heard some things about how to make 2017 even stronger. And so we're taking those comments to heart. People wanted even more opportunity to work together with the participants on group projects. So we're building that into the 2017 plan. They wanted more case studies, and they wanted us to continue to emphasize case studies outside the United States, not just in the U.S. That's something we've been very sensitive to and will continue to be. And they said that the capstone type project was great. Maybe we should have a second one. So we're looking at ways to do more with that. We also had an outside speaker as our last session. Actually, it was Kevin Cashman, who was our this year's Lifetime Achievement Award winner for his contribution to the leadership consulting profession worldwide. Kevin didn't speak about leadership consulting. Instead, he spoke about leadership. And he spoke to us as leaders, to us as people who engage with leaders at the client site, and to us as people who engage with candidates who are leaders. So the message was really important, and it was very inspirational. But you asked for even more guest speakers, and so we've taken that to heart for 2017 as well. And we want to make sure that the guest speakers reflect the global nature of the program and reflect those issues that are most interesting to the cohort who's participating. So we'll be incorporating some of these enhancements into 2017 while still building on the great quality of the professors, the program, and the methodology. So that's a little bit about the program, and Gwen's going to tell you more about the actual details.
Hi, everyone. So as Karen mentioned, I'd like to share with you an overview of the program structure so you have a sense of how it would progress through the 6 months that it's being delivered. And to start, this is a visual representation of a guiding principle that we've used in selecting the content and the faculty who presented in the program. And that's that the role of an executive search and leadership consultant is evolving, and one that is focused on being a trusted advisor to clients. So being able to balance both a strong understanding of candidate capability and potential with an understanding of the needs of clients related to business strategy and human capital development is critical in advising clients and partnering with them in your consultant role. So that dynamic and multifaceted consulting role is something that the faculty are well aware of and select content to enhance and support. Another principle of ours in selecting program content and in designing the sessions is that cutting edge research and theory is linked with practice and application. So the faculty are both aware of research going on in the field of human capital development and business strategy, and are also aware of the needs of businesses in those areas. And so they're able to join both of those perspectives to give you a very robust understanding of some of these issues. So 4 key elements that are addressed in the program content are that 1, you'll explore business issues and gain insight that will allow you to take a very innovative approach to the way you work and how you continue to build on your success as an executive search consultant or leadership consultant. We believe this will also help you meet the demands of global clients and be viewed as a trusted advisor to those clients. And to support that work, you'll be taking away frameworks and tools that you can use in your daily practice. So in addition to discussion with faculty and with fellow participants, there will be some very clear frameworks and principles that you can bring back to your work and reflect on and apply when you're engaging with clients. And also, you'll, through the program, be studying and staying aware of human capital development trends that impact hiring and leadership development. So again, you know, trends within organizations, challenges that they're facing, you know, impacts on their strategy that relate to building and developing key talent within their organization and selecting the right leaders to lead those organizations. So the design of the program is 3-pronged. It's a blended virtual delivery. At the center of it are the live virtual faculty sessions. So every other week, approximately over the course of 6 months, you will log on to a session like this and hear from faculty who will present their material live and be able to ask them questions and engage with other participants in the session. Those sessions are also recorded, so you can reference them as the program progresses, or if you're unable to make a session, as many of you, know, are very busy and have, you know, changing schedules and client commitments. The sessions are recorded and posted on an online platform so you can view them if you're unable to make a session. We do ask everyone to try to keep pace with the session and deliveries. Throughout the course of the program and prior to each of the virtual sessions, you will have assignments. Mainly those are reading, case studies, and questions that are that prompt you to think about what you're learning and how it applies to your work. So there will be a space in an online platform that you'll access where prior to sessions you'll leave comments and have discussions with fellow participants around some key topic areas related to human capital development, executive and leadership consulting. And lastly, and importantly, we have capstone project work. So as Karen mentioned, that was well received, and so much so, I'd like to think that folks are asking for an additional capstone project that might be assigned. So the capstone project activity is designed so that you can take what you're learning and really begin to think about it in the context of your work. So for example, in last year's program, participants worked on a paper describing how they might apply some key learning from the program and shared those papers with a peer for peer feedback. So the capstone work balances both time for reflection and independent study and work, and also will be an opportunity for you to, again, partner with other participants, you know, learn from them, learn their perspective on some of the topics that have been covered, and provide each other with feedback. So here is an overview of last year's delivery to give you a sense of how the program progresses. Mid-January, there will be a kickoff, and then we'll begin to progress through a series of 8 core topic areas. There are faculty presenting each, so you have a dynamic set of about 8 to 10 faculty who will be teaching. Throughout the program, there will also be opportunities for guest speakers. As Karen mentioned, Kevin Cashman presented on leadership during last year's program, and we're thinking now about other guest speakers who can give you some interesting industry perspective throughout the deliveries. So approximately 16 virtual deliveries over the course of the 6 months, which are complemented by self-study assignments, case studies, discussion forums, and peer collaboration. And then also there's capstone project work where you'll have some time to work independently and reflect on what you're learning and how it applies to your areas of expertise. So it's always nice to know that the company you keep when you sign up for a program, and we're very proud of our program alumni. This is a sampling of some of the organizations who have been represented in our participant cohorts, and we hope that your organization will be added to this list. So these are some of the groups who have been active participants in programs. We've also had alumni boards who have contributed to the design of future programs. So we're happy to share this with you and proud of the alumni that have been part of the group. And lastly, we always like to share with participants, and we'd like to share with you today, some guiding principles that we use within Cornell and also ask our participants to adhere to when they're participating in an executive or professional program. And that's to nurture ideas, test assumptions, and to treasure curiosity. So we hope to instill curiosity in all of you as you move through the content and to spark new ideas about how you can apply the learning, about your industry and your profession that you hadn't thought of before. So we encourage you to, through the 6 months, remain curious and share your ideas and nurture the ideas that you come up with, share them with fellow participants, and also to test assumptions that you might be holding now. This is a global group, and so it's a unique opportunity to sort of test assumptions that you might hold with perspectives from other countries, from other regions, and also to test the assumptions of others and share your perspective with others. So with that, I'm going to hand the microphone over to John Hausknecht so he can give you some perspective on the faculty experience working with the AESC groups.
Great, thanks, Gwen. And let me just at the outset first welcome all of you and ask the important question whether you can see and hear me. Great, thanks for the feedback there. So welcome to all of you. I want to take just a couple of minutes to share a faculty perspective on the program. As Karen mentioned, I've been involved with it since its inception, going on 5 years now. I've been part of both the in-person as the format began, as well as the virtual online delivery format, which has been in place now. This will be the 2nd year of it. So I just wanted to share a little bit of background, tell you a little bit from my perspective about both Cornell, the ILR School, and then my own experiences working and teaching in the program. So a little bit about Cornell. The university has been here for over 150 years in Ithaca, New York. You see a small photo there of Cornell and Cayuga Lake there here in Ithaca. The ILR School is the largest school dedicated to the study of the world of work. We have approximately 60 resident faculty members here in Ithaca studying a range of issues, all touching upon the idea and the pursuit of advancing the world of work. So I'm one of about a dozen faculty members in human resource studies who tackles issues related to management of people and organizations. And what I think you get in terms of the faculty perspective here is a team of faculty who are not just teachers and active researchers, but who are also in touch with practice. And so all of us, whether we're studying, for instance, my area is around executive assessment. Not only do I do research in that area, not only do I teach our courses on staffing and employee selection and assessments, but I'm also out there working with organizations, both from a research standpoint and through our center, which we call CAR, Center for Applied HR Studies, working with partner companies around the U.S. and really around the globe to understand the latest issues on topics of the day. So we do working groups, we do partner meetings, all of which connects us back with industry and allows us to bring back to our teaching and to our research what's really happening in the field. So from a faculty standpoint, I think what's unique about the program is you're not getting someone who's, sort of knows something about this topic. You're getting people who've spent most of their careers really researching, teaching, and studying that particular issue. So my own topic area, what I've taught in the course, is around executive assessment. It's obviously an area that's changed quite a bit in the last 10 years or so, even with more interest in from boards and from CEOs in doing better assessments of people. We know the executive failure rates are pretty high, and so we talk about in the program some of the emerging techniques and methods that you might think about using to supplement on some of the more traditional methods for assessment. Just a little bit of my experience with working with participants in the program. The pieces that I was really pleased with and excited by was has been touched on already, the kind of global nature of the participant group, the diversity of experience and background, and you have really kind of a seasoned core of people who are participating in the program. So I'm learning as much from people around the world that are participating through the chat and through the online sessions. People are learning from one another, and so it's really been an interactive kind of dialogue as much as it is instruction and teaching. So I just wanted to mention that the format really for me has been a big improvement. The first 3 years we did this in New York City in a live session, which had its own positives, but there is something nice about the ability to get together virtually with folks from all around the world at the same time, do a live session, have that dialogue that's constantly coming through, and kind of learn from one another. So I just want to give kind of an overview from a faculty standpoint of both the school and the program, talk a little bit about my experiences in it, and I think at this point we will turn to open format Q&A, and you can ask those questions through the chat function. I think some of you have already helped us out by telling us if you can see and hear us, but you can use the chat function to ask questions. Could be from for me, of Karen, of Gwen around the program design, but we have some time reserved for that, so feel free to go ahead and address any questions that you might have, and we'll do our best to answer them. I see one or two coming in here. First one is around requirements to participate, and a second is around a case study. So maybe I'll take the second question, and then I'll ask Karen and Gwen to tackle the requirements piece. But examples of case studies. So in my course on executive assessment, the one that I've used that I really like is the case of Bill Perez at Nike. So if you're not familiar with that hire from several years ago now, that case is a really good example of where assessments were not used, any kind of formal assessments were really not used, and we saw sort of a really just a disastrous outcome in terms of what that tenure was like and how that relationship went between Phil Knight, the outgoing CEO and founder, and Bill Perez, the newly hired incumbent. So that example, I think, is one from my particular course that illustrates sort of how executive assessments can come to be, or have come to be, more important in the entire process. And then I have a couple of other cases. Some are more of your standard Harvard Business School kind of off-the-shelf cases. Others are more scenarios based on experience or news events. And I think that's typical of just about all of my colleagues in terms of their courses as well. It's tough to do this kind of work without coming across really good cases and examples, and I think that helps bring all the concepts to light. So there's an example of a case, and then I'll turn it over to Karen and Gwen to address the question about requirements.
Okay, thanks. And so the participant requirements, we ask that you have 10 years of consulting experience directly in the profession, or consulting experience or experience in an industry coming in at a senior level. And so we are not looking for entry level, but rather more senior level professionals. Brian, is there anything you'd like to add to that? You'll have to take your microphone off mute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Karen. I would just reiterate we've had many requests for people who want to join the program who are new to the search, and we really do find that it's important that you're not new to the search, that you've had some experience both in client development as well as candidate development and on the execution side. So that may mean a few years in search, even if you've come out of industry, which many executive search consultants do. So that's why we ask for a 10 years of combination of either all search or search plus some background in industry. But the program's not geared toward those who are new to search, who have just arrived in this profession.
Okay, terrific. And John or Brian, can you see the additional questions that might be asked?
I can see
So, Brian, would you mind facilitating?
I don't see any other questions coming in.
All right.
I don't see any other questions yet.
So
Yeah.
there's a question now that says, asked if we can give an example of a case study. So, John, do you mind if I turn that over to you? Can you give an example of a case study? Or Brian, you participated, so you might have a good example as well.
Sure. So you may not have been able to hear. I mentioned one that I've used with a Nike example, but Brian, if you had others to add beyond that, that might be useful since you've seen the other sessions outside of my own.
Sure. If there are, can you hear me?
Yes.
There were a couple of times when we were asked to do group work, and those were built around case studies. Particularly, there was one that was dedicated to culture fit, and there was another one where we had to look at different scenarios for negotiating, and that was one of the modules was on collaborative conversations and negotiation skills, and those were quite good. They were especially good because we had to work one-on-one with another student, which meant that we had to use each other's experiences, and then we brought that into the class the next time the class met.
Thanks, Brian. That's very helpful. And I know that the feedback showed that the cohort of participants really enjoyed that interaction. There's another question that's just come up. Will focus be equally on the U.S. and European search markets? And I would say, and beyond that, this is a global cohort. We had students or professionals from 6 continents, as we said, and so we work hard to make sure the professors understand that it is students from around the world. In fact, John, you and I were chatting a little bit about assessment and how that might vary and how you bring that into your class. Maybe you could talk about that as well.
Sure. So bring my video back up here for a moment. Be happy to talk about that. The one piece I learned very early on in this program was that the programs or the participants are quite diverse, and it sparked for me all of the work that we know about regarding assessments around the world and how different it can be given kind of social, cultural, legal constraints depending on where you are operating. So there's absolutely this what's the word I'm looking for? Sensitivity, I guess, to how practices can vary across the globe. And of course, you know, we might think we know everything about every topic everywhere, but the benefit of having this cohort is I've seen participants learning from one another about how, say, assessments work in Brazil versus the U.S. versus New Zealand versus some other country. So the participant group combined with some of the things that we're seeing around the globe, I think does make this a truly kind of global program. And the faculty continually bring those non-U.S. examples into the mix to both make it relatable for people outside the U.S., but also for people within to see that there's variation in practices depending on where you sit.
Terrific. And so the next question, is there coursework regarding effective business development best practices? So Brian, maybe you're in the best position to answer that.
And Brian, I can kind of kick that response off while you're getting online. So we do have coursework focused on becoming a trusted advisor to your clients, and some techniques around building that trust and that relationship, which directly correlates with business development. We also will be bringing in some guest speakers from the executive search and leadership consulting field who can share perspectives on their work and best practices around many areas, including potentially business development. So there are, some courses that address that directly, and of course indirectly in gaining the knowledge through the various course topics that we hope that all of the learning will impact your ability to partner as a trusted advisor and develop business.
Brian, anything you want to add to that? If not, we'll go on to the next question.
I would add that, and I want to echo what Gwen said, that the theme of trusted advisor is very consistent through all of the program. Each one of the courses within the program really did emphasize what it means to be a trusted advisor, how as consultants we really do need to know the business, the strategy, the goals and objectives of our clients' businesses. And so that's a consistent theme. But I would say that we also build off of content that the AESC has developed. And as a participant from the AESC, and I had a couple of colleagues from the AESC also participating, we would also inject any research that we had or things that you could find on our website as supplemental material for the kinds of discussions that were taking place in the classes themselves.
Thanks, Brian. So the next question, aside from the 6-month virtual curriculum, are there opportunities to meet with the faculty and students in person? And this was, a trade-off that we had to make when we had, a 1-week class in New York, but that meant that people from around the world had to fly to New York to the virtual program. We have, we'd love to have that opportunity. In fact, we've thought about how we might encourage participation at our global conference in New York. as a way to get together, but it would mean a lot to ask for the cohort from around the world. And as we mentioned, they were in 16 countries in 2016. So we'd have to have people in 16 different countries flying to a particular place, wherever that place may be. So I think it's just not practical, although we really like the idea. We haven't figured out, an easy solution to the cost of that travel. The next question, can you speak more to who might be a typical guest presenter from the search field? Do they come from boutiques as well as the majors? Last year we had one guest speaker, and it was in the final session. It was Kevin Cashman who spoke on leadership, not on leadership consulting, but on leadership. Kevin Cashman was the winner of our Lifetime Achievement Award this year, and for his impact on the leadership consulting profession. But he really spoke more from a inspiration perspective on what it means to be a great leader. As individuals, each of us is a leader. We work with leaders. The candidates are leaders, and so we use that as an opportunity to talk broadly about leadership. So last year we had one guest speaker. In years gone by, we've had guest speakers who are successful consultants, board members, council members, and so we're thinking for next year that we want to think openly about who we might have as a guest speaker. And in fact, picking up on one of the earlier questions, we could have a great, panel session talking about business development and how one develops business around the world. So we're very open to how we might invite guest speakers, and in some ways it can come from you, the cohort, to say we'd love to hear directly from people in the profession on this kind of subject. It's very easy for us to make that happen.
So if there aren't other questions at the moment, we do have a couple of questions we wanted to ask of the group. It's helpful to have all of you on the line and hear from you. So if some of you would like to share what interests you most about participating in the AESC Cornell program, and also what topic areas you think would be most relevant to your work. We're always fine-tuning our content, and getting this feedback is very helpful. Well, seem to have gone a bit quiet. Oh, okay. I see some folks are typing. All right, well, okay, we see a few other folks typing.
Well, while people are thinking about their answers and sorting this out, it might be helpful, Brian, for you to go off mute again and talk a little bit about next steps so that we can effectively use the time.
Sure, thanks, Karen. So right now we have opened registration for the course, and as I said earlier, and Gwen had said, there is or Karen, that there is an application process that would look at your experience. So we really do want to ensure that there's a cohort, that the students are all from similar sized, not sized organizations, but similar backgrounds in terms of the level of experience. So on the website at Cornell, the Cornell page of the AESC website, you'll see you'll have the ability to download an application. It's very simple to submit, and then we would review it and get you registered. All that is located on the AESC website under the education rubric. And if you have any questions, you could always contact me directly. My email is bglade, B-G-L-A-D-E, at aesc.org. And there is an early bird registration discount right now that is in effect until September. We're looking to make sure that we have everyone registered by the end of November, and that way Cornell could begin with the pre-work and make sure everyone's technology is up to date and ready to use, so that we could kick off the class with everyone on board by mid-January. And thanks, Gwen. There's the slide with my email address. And again, I'd be glad to answer questions. I'd also be happy to put you in touch with alumni of the program. Many of them are willing to talk with you or email with you to make sure you know the benefits of the program from their perspective and could explain to you how it's impacted their work on a daily basis and help them become better professionals.
Terrific, and everyone that's in the group right now can start to see comments coming in terms of what people find very interesting or the most interesting components that they'd like to see. And so you can read those together and get a sense of how the chat room works in terms of sharing ideas.
Right, and some of the topics that you've mentioned are included in our content. Best practices are shared throughout. Executive assessment, as John has been describing, is a key component of the program content. Business development, again, acting as a trusted advisor, building that interpersonal capability as well as the expertise required to support your trusted work as a trusted advisor is central to the program design. And so thank you for sharing some of those thoughts.
There's a comment, a question that's being asked, which is, I came in late, what's the curriculum, and how can I review that material? First of all, you can go to the AESC website and look at the Cornell section and to see more about the curriculum. We also will be sharing the actual recording that will show more detail. So you'll have a couple of different ways of seeing the information and reviewing the material, but it's actually quite easy to go online at aesc.org and go under education, and you'll see Cornell easily found there with a lot of details about the curriculum from 2016.
So we have a comment here sharing, I believe, a reference from someone in India who has done the course in the past. I think you mean that you would like to share some comments from someone that you know who's participated, and that's perfectly fine.
I think what they're asking is, did anyone from India participate, and could they give a reference to how valuable the program was?
I see. Okay.
And so I'd have to go back and look at the list of people who participated. We do keep a record, and actually it looks like, so we'll take a look and see whether India was one of the countries.
Yes, we have had participants from India, and so yes, we can share feedback with you.
Terrific. And looks like Brian's going to be sharing that as well. Any other questions or comments? We want to make sure we get your questions answered.
And also regarding alumni staying in touch, we use the Blackboard, an online platform for the content material sharing and collaboration during the program called Blackboard. And the group does have access to the Blackboard materials for several months following the program close, and they can connect with each other through that platform. And in addition, we're working with AESC to find ways to maintain the cohorts that move through the program, maintain their contact with AESC and Cornell, and keep them engaged with each other and with us. So that is an element of the design that we consider, and there are some ways in which you can stay connected with folks after the program is complete.
Sounds good. It looks like there's still, I think we've got, I don't know if there are any other questions. We've got some back and forth going on here, but it looks like those questions are getting answered. Again, you can go to the website to learn more, and we will post a recording of this video webinar as well for you and also for others who weren't able to participate. Last call for questions. All right. Thank you all, and have a great morning, noon, or night, depending on where you are right now.
Thanks,
Oops, there's someone typing a question just as I'm signing off. No more
Thank you,
questions,
Marlene.
so there we go.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much.